Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, who love yourselves, just like Sir Spencer's vassals. I'm a useful idiot. Today I want to talk about a small story that actually has pretty huge implications. In a proposed amendment to a media shield law being considered by Congress right now, Senator Feinstein writes that only paid journalists should be given protection from prosecution for what they say or write. And this has huge implications. Because essentially what it means is now the government and Congress and the Obama administration and the Department of Justice, all these other nefarious offices in our government are going to decide who are real journalists and who are fake journalists. And they're going to separate them. And they're going to have different sets of laws. And to spell it out specifically, I mean, Senator Feinstein even said that at a congressional hearing last week, Feinstein said shield law should only apply to, quote, real reporters, unquote. And don't we all feel good knowing that it's going to be the government who decides who the real reporters are, who the real journalists are. And, of course, the dangers in this are that it leaves out bloggers and all the other non-traditional forms of journalism and Internet journalism that have flourished of recent. In Feinstein, her definition of a journalist is, quote, a salaried employee, independent contractor, or agent of an entity that disseminates news or information. That sounds broad enough. But what it implies is that only people who are paid by a media outlet should be considered journalists, and everybody else are potential terrorists, potential whistleblowers, potential traitors, what have you. And the proposed legislation would protect journalists from having to comply with subpoenas or court orders, forcing them to reveal sources and other confidential information. A good example of this recently is the AP scandal, where the Justice Department basically commandeered all the communications of certain AP reporters and journalists. And when they did that, they also scooped up all of their contacts. So one part of this story is the fact that we have a reconfiguration of who is going to be allowed to spread news. In other words, they're zeroing in. They're creating another dragnet in order to scoop up all the people who are reporting on events in the world, people like myself. And a good example of that was a case of the Crystal Cox case. I was actually here in Seattle and ended up down in Portland, Oregon. And Crystal Cox was a self-described investigative blogger. And she described her material as a mixture of facts, commentary, and opinion. So that makes me a little nervous because what I do here on my YouTube channel is a mixture of facts, commentary, and opinion. So Crystal Cox, accused of a major investment bank in Oregon of financial malpractice, and it prompted a defamation lawsuit. And Cox lost and was ordered to pay $2.5 million to the investment firm, which seems pretty outrageous. I mean, as an independent blogger who doesn't get paid by anybody, having to pay a $2.5 million fine to an investment bank is certainly an outrageous turn of events. And this is really going to be a fine line that they're going to have to walk, because we live in an age that anyone with a camera, a smartphone, and a computer can break a story. And that, to me, looks like what they're going after. They're finding out that, for example, they've known for many years now that there's a lot of material out on YouTube, for example. It's very embarrassing to the government and its cronies and its minions. And we've seen this time and time again. And now we've got to the fact where there's debatable legality involved in even photographing cops across this nation. And the fact that that's even being debated is personally beyond belief to me. Every citizen should be able to film cops, film anyone. Well, I mean, not film them in the bathroom or the shower, but I mean public spaces and filming someone. There shouldn't be any legal question there. But let's get back to this Cox case for a minute, because I thought one of the things that the judge said was really interesting. And he said, quote, Although the defendant is a self-proclaimed investigative blogger and defines herself as media, the record fails to show that she is affiliated with any newspaper, any magazine, any periodical, any book, any pamphlet, any news service, any wire service, any news feature syndicate, any broadcast station or network, or any cable television system. Thus, she is not entitled to the protections of the law. So there's a couple problems here. One is it suggests there's one law for journalists and one law for citizens. And I'm pretty sure the First Amendment of the Constitution says nothing will infringe on the right of the press. And the Constitution also protects freedom of speech of individuals, and yet the government is once again redetermining that, which doesn't seem very appropriate. But more importantly, when you look at that list that I just read off, that the judge listed, this is essentially all corporate media and profit-motivated alternative media. So in other words, profit-motivated alternative media, especially corporate media, will in the end probably be the ones who are determined to be journalists, and they will have a certain amount of protection. But all these independents out there, you're fair game, and I am fair game, apparently. And, so we need to keep a close watch on how this legislation goes and how they end up, what kind of language they use, and what kind of definitions they use, because this could end up turning into a very big deal. At least that's the implications I see. Another thing that's kind of interesting about this is the fact that, of course, they're going to finally, after repeated attempts over the years, and in spite of the fact there's all sorts of local state media protection laws, now might be the time for them to pass this, because it's all a moot point. The fact of the matter is the government, through our vast surveillance system that is all coming to light now, through this vast surveillance system, and not necessarily having to have a court-approved search, the access to all the contacts and all the sources for most media can already be accessed by the government surreptitiously. So it doesn't even really matter whether there's legislation or not. Like I say, the government already has access to all that information just through the spying program. So it all seems like a moot point in the end. But so there we have it. I think particularly all us bloggers are certainly going to be watching this story, but I think all Americans should be watching this, because the fact is this could ultimately end up turning into a dragnet for all those who are independent, like myself, and reporting information, which, as far as I'm concerned, according to the Constitution, according to everything I know about law and common sense, I should have a right to come on here and observe what's going on around me and express my opinion, make comments, and provide facts. Because there's certainly a lot of material out there that we're not going to get from the mainstream media. Of course, that's exactly what they want to go after. They don't want to have their politicians smeared. They don't want to have their policies smeared. They don't want to have banker scum smeared. They don't want to have corporate scum smeared. They don't want to have all their dirty laundry aired out by some little podunk blogger like me or anyone else out in the middle of nowhere. And as we know, the government feels very threatened by those who paint them in a bad light. And that's the era we live in now. So anyway, keep an eye on this legislation, and as always, keep an eye on Senator Feinstein, because she's one of our finest bootlickers. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.